is good, everybody? Welcome to a brand new edition of El Boogie in the Bell. I am the Bell, of course, here with El Boogie. El Boogie, how are we doing this Sunday?
Doing great, man. We got some crazy basketball games going on today. Two game sevens. Uh, Teams trying to punch their tickets to the conference finals. We'll get into that later, but I'm feeling pretty good, man.
Pretty dope, pretty dope. I'm actually pissed. I've been playing around with making websites and making landing pages all day and yesterday and actually the day before. So I haven't got to enjoy sports as I want. But we have a new heavyweight champ getting ready for Mike Tyson to fight. We have some game sevens today. We got a couple. Do we have a couple? Yeah, we know our conference. Yeah, we know who's. We have two of our conference championship teams, and we are waiting on two more. And we got our NFL schedule, as our Boogie says. So we're gonna get right into the show. Of course, we're gonna start as usual with L Boogie's GM takes. L Boogie, where we at and who we taking over?
All right, for this week, I'll be stepping into the shoes of the GM for the San Antonio Spurs.
Intriguing.
San Antonio Spurs. They had a pretty pathetic season. Didn't win a ton. They finished at the bottom of the West, which is fine. Nobody really expected them to be great. This was obviously Victor Wembanyama's rookie season. He was the number one overall pick. He won Rookie of the Year, rightfully so. He's a talent. I think he's everything that people thought he was going to be, and I mean, he had like great stats for being a rookie, and only playing limited minutes. They kept him on a minutes restriction pretty much the whole season. Like he wasn't playing 30 plus minutes a night. He was playing like 25 minutes.
So
Um,
what's the fear with that? Well, sometimes with rookies, especially for their first 30 games, I know that like they might not start even though they want like even though they are clearly the best player on the team or at least the player that they're going to be developing around. Like even when you go back to like those 2K days, you remember how they would always start you at like 12 minutes regardless of how high you got up in the draft.
right.
It's like just like kind of weaning them into the system, but
I think with him it was, I mean, it's getting him used to like the NFL. I mean, not NFL, getting him used to the NBA schedule, and also as a 7 plus footer, the concern is always injuries. Because we've seen a lot of guys that tall have a lot of injuries, so it's easing him into it. As the season went on, he played more and more minutes, naturally. But I think it was a feel out season, and it's like you knew your expectations were low. You didn't need him to be great this year.
excuse me. See, the
Um,
last time we dealt with this was Yao Ming, and believe it or not, Yao Ming actually played like 81 games out of his first 82 his season. I know he was like really close. Like it was unbelievable that he made it through his season healthy, but I don't know what his minutes were. So maybe he did really average less minutes.
For reference, Victor Wembanyama, he played in 71 games this year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if
So
that's
he,
the method, especially for people that are at that height, and like, if we want more longevity out of those careers. Okay, so what are we doing?
all right. So I think a lot of people, the good news for the San Antonio Spurs, they have a lot of draft capital, like a
Oh yeah.
ton of picks in the next couple years. They're very young. They're really not paying anybody outside of their starting guard Devin Vassell, who is an okay player. I mean, but outside of that, they're not paying anybody else $20+ million a year. So they have cap space, they have draft capital, so they have a lot of freedom here. And a lot of people think they need to go and get somebody like a Trey Young to pair with Victor Wembanyama. I don't like that because I don't like Trey Young that much because he doesn't do much for you on defense. And as we're seeing in these playoffs, defense is what matters. It doesn't matter that you can, distribute and shoot the ball well, which Trey Young hasn't done recently. It doesn't mean anything if you can't play defense and stop a good offense. So I think that the San Antonio Spurs don't go and get a young, expensive player like Trey Young. Take the same approach that the Oklahoma City Thunder took, where you have a ton of draft capital. You have to knock it out of the park with your draft picks and get good players that actually amount to something. Um, but I think what they do immediately, they need to go and get an experienced older player to teach the younger core how to be good. Like Oklahoma City when they had Chris Paul.
Okay.
They were in the playoffs, a lot of young talent. Chris Paul was the mentor for that team. They had a very, very young SGA, who they traded for, by the way. So they got a young SGA, they brought in Chris Paul, let him coach up the young people, established a culture there. So the San Antonio Spurs need to do the same thing. Go and get an older, experienced player. And ironically, I think they should go and get Chris Paul.
Oh,
I think they should
I
trade.
was I was going for like a Paul George or something, but you
No,
just
no,
threw
no, no,
me
no.
off.
Because Paul George, I mean, he wants to win now, and he's like a
Okay.
little younger. I think Paul George, one, he has a really big contract, and I don't think the Warriors would be like opposed to getting that off their books. Um, but two, I think at this point, like Chris Paul, you're kind of cooked. But I think he's a great person to bring in to be a mentor for the younger people, and I think he would accept that role more than a free agent Paul George would.
Okay.
So you trade for Chris Paul, and you trade for another young piece that has potential but hasn't really gotten the opportunity to shine yet where they're at. I think you trade for like a Kobe White out of Chicago. Or maybe even the Darius Garland, because I think the Darius Garland Donovan Mitchell thing isn't going to work. So you trade for somebody where they can come in and have a fresh start and really blossom, kind of like how SGA had. He was on the Clippers. They traded for him. So you trade for a guy like Kobe White, Darius Garland. You trade for a Chris Paul. You have Chris Paul to mentor the younger team. You knock some draft picks out of the park. In 3 years from now, we could be talking about, the Spurs as a playoff contender. It's not going to happen now. It's not going to happen in the short term. It's going to take like 2-3 years to build up that core. But they could be the next OKC.
Okay.
That's kind of how I see it, because you already have your franchise centerpiece in Victor Wembanyama. You have him. All right, fill out the rest of the roster.
So I'm actually gonna push back because I've been agreeing with you a lot on these old Boogie GM takes for the past couple of weeks, but this one I actually don't. When I think of Wimbiana and where he is and his star potential, I would like him to actually be paired up as a center guard duo. And what I mean by that is, look at some of the successful ones allowed in the league currently. So Wimbiana is going to be a lot more athletic than a Jokic Murray. And honestly, out of the next couple duos I name, I don't think Jokic or Murray are more athletic. So I would like him to have like a more athletic one, but like Tyrese Maxey, which is kind of going towards the 2 or the 3, but he runs the floor. That's kind of like him and Joel Embiid would have had. I think they would have had a way better playoff success if he was healthier. And then you think of, well, what's another? Oh, like what they want to do with Dame and Giannis. And of course, it didn't happen this year specifically, but I think something great will happen next year if they could all get on one accord and stay healthy throughout the season. I think that they should be looking to pair him for who's going to have the best success for him. And I don't think that him and Chris Paul can do it. Well, we don't know how long Chris Paul has in the league, let alone how close he could get with Wimbiana before Wimbiana is like, wait, are you going to be here for the next 3-4 years when we're going to become contenders? Or are you guys going to be training me to work directly with somebody like Chris Paul, then plug somebody else in 2 years from now? And I think that's what it is. So I like a duo situation. I think he should have his perfect match, his perfect counterpart, because some of the duos that I've just mentioned, that center, you would want it to be closer to like a more athletic version of a Jamal Murray and Jokic. I'm not talking about just running a pick and roll at the top. I'm just saying who's going to put him in the best success. Who could he run the floor with? Who's his shorter counterpart? Who's his 3-point shooter? Who, when he needs to kick it out, like they have that system in place. So a guard running a floor and Wembanyama is doing what Wembanyama does. I think matching him with somebody closer to his age. It doesn't have to be his age, but at least closer.
Right, and that's why I added the caveat. You go and trade for like a Kobe White, who has
Yeah.
been like not really getting the attention in Chicago, but this year started to blossom in the right system, the right setup. Kobe White has the potential, to be an all-star caliber player, or a Darius Garland, someone who has
Okay.
experience working with bigs,
We're
who has
talking.
experience like, running the floor, distributing. So that's why I say you go and trade. You get Chris Paul, but solely for the mentorship part of it, and you
Okay.
go and get your point guard, of the future via trade, or I guess if you really like someone in the draft. I'm not very familiar with the draft prospects in the next couple years, but if there's a guard you can go get, cool. But if you want to trade for a young person who may just need a fresh start to really blossom, two options, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, I agree. You definitely need a duo. Um, they just have a lot
A
of flexibility.
developing duo though, because you don't become a
Right,
duo after 1 year. That's what Dame and Giannis tried to do this year.
right.
It takes time to become a legit duo. Jokic and Murray probably been playing together for what,
Like
at least
5 or 6
7 years?
years. Yeah, it's been a
Yeah,
while.
six.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been a long time. So I'm like, you have to develop that like real established duo.
right. That's why I like Kobe White, man. He's been on the bench in Chicago for a while. This year he took a pretty big leap. I like the trajectory there.
And I want Jalen Brunson to get a big, like his go-to guy. I would love to see him in like a real duo where it's like every time they push his little ass over, and he really does put his body on the line. I want like a big dude to be right behind him. Like, nah, you're not pushing him at all. So I want to see him in a duo with a big, like a real big, real solid duo. Like him and Giannis sounds like a scary combination just based off of the way he runs the floor. Jalen Brunson runs the floor. So I'm like, I want to see something like that for him. But yeah, that was interesting take. Interesting take for sure. Alrighty, moving right into segment number 2. That is gonna be El Boogie and the Bells trivia, and it looks like the Bell is up first. And all right, I'm gonna hit you with 2 questions because I was a little underprepared today, and I thought I was gonna be able to get these questions off real fast. But it's gonna be 3 questions, nice, quick, and easy. And honestly, I don't even know if one of the questions makes sense, but it's gonna be really funny. So when you're ready,
All right, I'm ready.
all righty. Now we're gonna just go 1 through 3. All right. Which team won the Eastern Conference Championship in 2020?
So in the bubble,
Yep.
it was the Miami Heat, wasn't it?
Who was named the MVP of the 2021 Western Conference Finals?
The conference finals have MVPs. I gotta think. Okay, who went to the final? Was it Steph Curry?
No.
Did the Warriors go to the finals that year? Wait, no, 2021. Hold up, I'm tripping. Uh, okay, 23 was Nuggets. 22 was Phoenix and Milwaukee. I think. No, 22 was the Warriors. Oh, it was Phoenix. So Devin Booker.
Who did they beat?
Oh crap! Was it the Mavericks?
Was it the Mavericks? No.
No, I don't know. Who was the MVP?
This says Paul George. The Clippers went to the Western Conference Championship, and he won MVP apparently, even though they lost.
They lost. Interesting. That's
I think
weird.
this is just crazy. So I don't know. I
That's
think what I looked up just shot back something just ridiculous. But anyways, which team made their first appearance to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2019? This
the
one's crazy because this one's crazy. Go ahead.
the Raptors.
No, it's close. No.
Well, they played against the Raptors. I feel like
Which team made their first ever appearance to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2019?
was I don't even know who they beat. The Pacers? No, not the Pacers. The
Think about somebody who like they said you couldn't do it by yourself. You have to do what LeBron did.
You couldn't do it, and you're in the East.
You had to go a bigger market.
2019. Uh,
I think that Raptors was a great guess.
was it the Bucks?
Yes, it was the Bucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we
Yeah,
go.
that middle question, who the hell knows? And of course, you got the Miami Heat right because of the bubble, which is
Yes, I
interesting. The
remember that.
Miami Heat are always there.
I think they're just a good franchise, dude.
Yeah,
They're just a good franchise.
I think
Good
they got it
coach.
figured out. All right. Anyways, El Boogie's trivia.
All right, hey Bill. Like you said earlier, we got 2 Game 7s today. This is the end of the second round of the NBA playoffs, and we're moving to the conference finals. So now, hey Bill, my question to you is: can you name the 10 teams with the most conference finals appearances?
Let's do the Lakers are one.
The Lakers are number 1 at 24.
The Celtics are number 2.
22.
We're gonna go Miami Heat number 3 on the list.
No, Miami's not even in the top 10. Oh wait, no, yeah, they are. Sorry, they're number 5 or number 6 on the list.
6. Wow. Historically, let's go Western Conference because there's only so many of those. Let's go ahead and go with the Phoenix Suns.
Not in the top 10.
Okay. Let's do.
Wait a second.
Let's do the Detroit Pistons.
The Detroit Pistons are number 4.
Okay, let's do. Oh, let's definitely do the Houston Rockets.
Houston Rockets not in the top 10. Surprisingly, they're just outside.
I wouldn't dare say the New York Knicks.
Oh wait, you said the Suns, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad. You were right.
What was Chuck at? I know Charles Barkley went most of his career at least.
They went 10 times, so I guess they're tied for 6th.
I'm sure Chuck's at least 6. I guess. Oh, I know my number 3. Number 3 is the Bulls.
Their number. Wow, my numbering is so off. Or the Bulls are on there. They're not number 3 though.
What the heck? If Jordan went to 6,
there's another dynasty.
Scottie Pippen went to 1. That's like 7 already.
There's another dynasty you're missing.
A dynasty. Of course the Spurs.
There you go. They're number 3 at 14.
14.
So you only have 2 more teams left. Both are in the Western
Nuggets
Conference.
have 2.
They're both in the Western Conference.
They're both in the Western Conference. Oh,
I think one
Sacramento. Sacramento.
What? No.
Did I say Golden State yet?
No, but it was Golden State. It's crazy you said Sacramento before Golden State.
You remember Zach Randolph and them used to like make it far, but like everybody knew they weren't going.
They've only been 2 times.
Okay, I know he was at least a part of 2. That's funny.
Now this last one it might be hard, but when you think about it historically, it actually makes sense.
I know it's not Memphis.
No, oh hell no.
Yeah. Historically, I want to say the Seattle Supersonics mixed in with OKC, but is that wrong?
That is correct. It is the Oklahoma City Thunder. At first, I was confused, but then I thought, wait, no, the Supersonics were pretty good.
I know George Karl was their coach, and I know they made it a couple times and ended up going to 1 championship, so maybe 4. Right. And then, of course, KD's era, that was 1. They made it to a championship, and I'm sure they got knocked out by somebody a couple times. So, how many do they have? 6?
Oh wait, they have 10 as a franchise, and I realized there's one more. Lot. There's actually one more team on the list that I completely just went over.
Is it East?
Eastern Conference, yeah.
Let's go Orlando Magic.
No. Again, this
is North or South?
North. And this is a historically a team that's not good.
Philadelphia 76ers. If it's not them, I don't know who.
It's not the Sixers, but they were good. They used to be really good.
More than 7?
They used to be really good.
Did I miss the Celtics? I already said Celtics.
You said the Celtics. Guess. They're in the East. They're not good now. They are not good. They are bad now, but they were really good.
A franchise who used to have it. It ain't damn sure ain't the Bobcats.
They were known for being very good on defense.
I said Detroit Pistons.
Detroit Pistons. There you go.
I said Pistons a minute ago.
Did you? Oh,
yeah, I said Pistons.
Oh, I'm tripping. Anyway, well, it wasn't smooth, but you got all 10.
Alrighty. Cool enough. All right. Moving right along. Moving around kind of quick. Oh, no, damn, we're already at 20. Moving right along. We're going to head right into our segment number 3, and that's going to be our topics of the day. NFL schedule release. Oh, Boogie. Who caught your attention? I'm about to look up something right now as we speak.
All right, yeah. So this week released the NFL schedule, so people are reacting to it. Some things that I noticed. One is obviously the strength of schedule of a lot of the schedule, or the strength of schedules for the teams. They kind of did some teams really dirty. The Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers have like some of the hardest schedules based on teams that made the playoffs last year.
Okay.
Um, I was surprised the Chiefs aren't in the top 10 in terms of strength of schedule. Like you think that they would make it, you know, a little challenging for them to go for the three-peat, but they're like middle of the pack. The Chiefs are 16. Yeah, they're right in the middle. Um, so like that's kind of weird. The Packers, they're in the top 5 hardest schedules. The Giants being at number 6 is messed up too cuz like the expectations for them is pretty low. Um I'm very happy that I'm very happy that they gave Chicago a really easy strength of schedule because I feel like the NFL wants Chicago to be good. I feel like they want Caleb Williams to have like a really good start to his career since Chicago's been a dumpster fire. And I learned this week. They're actually like the like fourth biggest media market in the country.
Oh wow.
So to have them like have a really bad like or yeah consistently bad football team is losing the NFL money. So they probably want Chicago to be pretty good this year. Um, so those are kind of the things that stuck out on the strength of schedule. But another thing that stood out is the number of prime time games. They gave the Jets 6 prime time games this season.
I don't think they learned their lesson.
I think they did it because they're like, hey, Jets and Aaron Rodgers, we had expectations for you guys last year. We spent all offseason talking about you guys, just for Aaron to go down game 1 and the Jets to be a dumpster fire. So you guys kind of owe us from last year. So I think this is kind of like them trying to, you know, invest in the New York Jets again for this season, knowing that more than likely Aaron Rodgers isn't going to get hurt in the first game of the year. Um, and I think it's media market, man. New York is huge. You want the Jets to be featured, and I think everyone in the country wants to see: are the Jets going to be good? Is Aaron Rodgers going to be Aaron Rodgers, or does he not have it anymore? So that made sense. They gave the Cowboys and 49ers 6 primetime games too, which also made sense.
I love how
I'm
they gave the Panthers and only the Panthers 0 in the entire NFL.
I mean, they had a really bad season, dude.
They could have a Thursday though.
Yeah, not giving them a Thursday is kind of messed up, but I understand the move. And also it's just like let that team, let that organization figure it out without the whole country like tuning in cuz yeah, they were bad last year.
See, and it makes me think like, what did the Falcons do to get 4 over a Bears? I'd rather see a Bears in a prime time. I'm cool on Chargers, Saints, and Giants, who all got 3. Broncos are fine at 2. Jaguars are fine at 2. I definitely want to see what they do in the season. I would love to see like how they bounce back from the ending of last season. I would want to see them in an early primetime game, like a very early Thursday or Sunday, even a Monday. The Panthers couldn't have had a Monday.
Who wants to watch that on Monday Night Football? That's one of those games where you're like, "Really? Monday?"
Damn.
And I think even for like some of the teams, like their primetime games were strictly storyline. Like the Broncos. The Broncos play the Saints on a Thursday night football, I believe. So it's like, oh, Sean Payton going back to play New
Which,
Orleans.
which
Like
I'm surprised the Steelers and the Broncos didn't get one for at least a Thursday. We got
they're
them at
yeah, they're
225 and at Mile High.
yeah, they're not getting a prime time for that, but I think it's early on in the
220. It's
season.
it's normal Denver time. Just a normal game
Yeah.
in Denver.
Okay. Well, yeah, but I mean, I think for the most part, the teams that they gave like very little or very few primetime games to, it makes sense. Like, I don't think the Patriots have much to be excited for. The Titans, the Colts are kind of up in the air. The Falcons, I understand it because they got Kirk Cousins, and you think, okay, Kirk Cousins with a whole bunch of young like weapons, that could be very fun to see if it works out.
Assuming he's the starting quarterback, of course.
I think he will start this year. Well, actually, I know he's coming off an Achilles, so who knows if he's even ready at the start of the season.
Yeah. Let's see NFL. Let's see our first ones. So our season gets started with the Texans. Oh, that is the preseason. Our season starts with the Eagles versus the Ravens. Oh, I wish that was another preseason. All right, let me get past preseason. I would have loved to see a Eagles versus who did I just say?
Ravens.
Eagles versus Ravens to kick the season off. That sounds
Well, the season
fire.
opener, it's Ravens at Kansas City.
Too dramatic.
Too
See,
dramatic. Too
well,
dramatic.
it's not dramatic. You know why? Because it doesn't mean nothing between those teams until the playoffs. Like, it's cool to beat the Kansas City Chiefs the first game of the season and go on to be 14-3. Like, it's awesome. Like, it's such a cool thing to do. But the Kansas City Chiefs were almost a 10-win team and still won the Super Bowl. What did they end up with? 11?
I think they got 11. Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm like, if they had 10 and almost missed the playoffs to the Broncos, cool. They still would have went to the Super Bowl. They still would have went into the Bills Stadium and beat them. They still would have went into the Ravens Stadium and beat them.
fair. But what I don't know. I like it, and I think because they put the Ravens on the Chiefs slate pretty early, along with the Bengals pretty early in the season. And I think what it is now is they're saying like, all right, since these quarterbacks keep getting hurt, like Joe Burrow didn't finish the season last year, let's put all of these heavy quarterback matchups at the beginning of the season so we can make sure that these like, high end quarterback matchups that they actually happen versus, you get to week 17 or week 15 and I don't know, end of the season and Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson is out for the season. Those matchups don't become fun anymore. Nobody cared about the Bengals once Joe Burrow went down. So you put all those big games at the front, which I think the league did on purpose.
Shouts out Big Joey B. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's how that one wraps up.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I mean, it's a long time until September, but I'm very excited for this season.
Boogie and the Bell will be ready from the get go. The Pacers are definitely whooping the Knicks right now. Kinda. Interesting score, 70 points in the first half, 70-55. Which takes us to our next thing, which is our current NBA takes and who's in the conference championship and who's competing today to get to the conference championship. So as I just said and interrupted with was we got the Pacers up 70-55 at halftime, but we're in New York. So Boogie, how do you think this one plays out? We'll probably be able to finish this one right after this episode.
I thought the score would be closer because I mean the Knicks, we've seen them the whole series. They're pretty injured, pretty banged up, but they've come with a different energy when they're playing at Madison Square Garden. So I thought that this game would be the same. Like we'd see them come out and be firing on all cylinders. And we haven't watched the game obviously up to this point, but it sounds like that's not the case. It sounds like the Pacers are coming to play and playing their best basketball like they did in Game 6. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm still hoping for the Knicks, hoping for a better second half, but it seems like the Pacers are just playing better basketball, and I think they're healthier, so they might take it.
After watching a 7 game series, or I guess 6 because we're on game 7, I don't have either of these teams beating the Celtics or at least making it more than 6 games in the conference championship. I'm giving 6 is generous. I still see a 5 game series. But with that said, I think the Indiana Pacers have a better chance of competing with a young, fresh, well rested team. So I think the Pacers take this game. I haven't seen like the flow of the game. Maybe it's not as bad as it seems. Maybe people are just kind of moving. So I mean, it's still 55 points in the first half. So I don't think that they're having like a lot of issues scoring. They might just being outplayed for this first half. But anything could change in the course of one run. So want to see the Knicks act crazy. The Knicks fans act crazy. Which the Knicks players are actually really well composed. You wouldn't expect like this team to be for the Knicks just because New York's so crazy. But everybody's pretty calm and composed on the Knicks. Like they don't really scrap or anything too much. Um, I hope that the Knicks win, but I'm pretty sure the Pacers might be able to finish this one off. And plus, they have the better team. So I think this will be a learning lesson for the Pacers in the West and in the Eastern Conference Championship. So with that said, how do you think the Celtics go about playing these teams, which we kind of explained it just now?
Yeah, I don't think that either team is going to match up particularly well with the Celtics. I think the Celtics their roster is just they're just too deep. You know, either Jason Tatum can go off, or Jalen Brown can go off, or even sometimes Derek White kind of goes off. You don't need all of them to play great, but at least one of them is going to go crazy. And I feel like with the Pacers, they're very much a tempo team. Like if they're like they're either playing at a really high level or a really low level. Um, and I think what's gonna hurt them against the Celtics is they're gonna need to play their best basketball consistently. And even in this series, we haven't seen that.
Not
We
at
haven't
all.
seen them string together. I mean, I guess if you count Game Six and this game, that's the first time they've put together two good games in a row. That's if you can't do that against the Celtics, you're not gonna make it far. And I think they're also the Celtics have a chance of getting Kristaps back. He's gonna miss probably 1 or 2 games, and then he'll be back. So that's just another piece added to the Celtics. So I think they have an easy path to the NBA Finals, 5 game series, maybe six. I can see six, but I think the Celtics have cashed it in pretty much already.
Where easy is a strong word, I still think that they could get a couple bumps and bruises playing a young team. The only reason the Celtics win that series for sure versus either of these teams is where these people are going, where these people are trying to get to, the Knicks and the Pacers, the Celtics have already been. You know, their core has already been here where it's like we got to beat this team to make it to the finals. They've already been there, and that's going to be really new for the Pacers and the Knicks, especially the Knicks. Both teams, both teams. You know, Pascal's a champion, so he was a young champion. But I think where they get next, they're gonna have to feel what it's like to be there before they just take over and take it all. So moving into the West, how do you feel? And of course, I'm gonna save my Nuggets for last. How do you feel about your number one, your young guns learning their lesson in the Western Conference Championship versus Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving? I'm gonna make sure I say Luka first for a reason. But how you feel about that?
Not gonna lie, I was hurt to see them lose yesterday. I was pulling for them. Obviously, I wanted the Thunder to be good. I wanted them to make it to the conference finals. And even watching how the game ended, it was a close game. You know, they were up by 1 point, and the Mavericks had the ball, and Shea SGA he had a bad foul. A bad foul. They gave the Mavericks 3 free throws to end the game, and that was it. Like there was no rebuttal, there was no final chance shot. It was just it's over. So that it was heartbreaking fashion to see. Um, but I think the Mavericks just played good, consistent basketball. OKC gave up Game 5 at home. But they're young. They're young. They're going to learn that lesson. They're going to take it in the off season. They're going to process it. I think next year they're going to come back even better. I mean, they got the number one seed this year, young team, MVP candidate in SGA. Um, I see them finishing next year in the top three in the West and being a finals contender. That's
Okay,
that's it. But yeah,
I
it's
think
a
it's a
tough
hundred
tough
percent
loss.
growing pain. Yep, I think 100% growing pain. That's it. So I like the way that they lost. You lose in a game 6 by 1 point by a free throw by somebody who wasn't active the entire game. Well, he was pretty. He was there, but he got real active in that late quarter for them. I think the way they lost is the biggest growing pain that will propel them to actually win a championship. And I'm gonna feel the exact same way if the Timberwolves don't do it this year. Which, in theory, I think that we see a Timberwolves, and as long as it lines up that way, we see a Timberwolves versus OKC next year, and actually the Nuggets out because these guys go through so many growing pains. But we'll see what happens with the Nuggets game. But I think that growing pain right there, like that moment of failure when you're like, wow, we really lost to the 6th seed. Like, we're the best team all year. I know that this is the same things that the Nuggets went through for years. Like, we are the best team until it's time to win a 4 game series. So the way they lost, I think that propels them to like. I don't think that they put their heads down. They're just more like, damn, we're not there, but we're about to be there. Like I know we can get there now, and maybe just a little bit of imposter syndrome, where it's like you're the best team. You guys feel like you're the best team until somebody really comes to play. Until it's not about 82 games, it's about just 4. Every single way of the every single go around is just 4. So just a growing pain. No harm, no foul.
Yeah, I think it helps that they're young and they're gonna bring back the same squad.
Same
Same
thing.
squad, more season. I maybe they'll add a piece in the off season, but the sky's the limit for them next year.
Stay out of trouble. Keep the team clean. No,
Stay
stay
out of
out of trouble.
trouble.
With no
Yeah, yeah.
controversies. They don't need no attention. They much like the Nuggets. You guys could be the most boring team with no controversies. We don't want nobody talking to nobody weird. Or excuse me. You know what? You don't want any of their role players or stars getting into troubles as they getting into the later parts of their career, or at least the middle part of their career, since they're so young. Stay out of trouble. We don't want no Ja Morant situations. We don't even have to talk about the person who's on their team. Stay out of trouble, and you guys can
Yeah.
make it much further. I think that they should worry about being one of the most boring teams next year and being the best team. All right. And of course, the most exciting about to happen, I would say, I would say this is the most exciting series for blowouts. Like, I don't think people have ever been this excited to watch teams potentially blow each other out. Like, Nuggets lost a good first close game. They got blown out the second game. This is at home. The Timberwolves get blown out at home in the third game, and they were never in control in the fourth game. You know, they might have took one. No, I don't think they took a lead after the second quarter. Maybe the first quarter. They never took another lead in that the fourth game. Then you come back to Denver and get your butt whooped. Which there were moments. There were definitely moments, and also in Game 4, you know, Anthony Edwards came and put up 46. There were definitely moments, and then I would say that one was a closer relative game. But then you go back to the Timberwolves, and then we flip the script again, and then you get completely blown out. One of the worst blowouts we've ever seen at this stage, and now we have a Game 7 in Denver. El Boogie, what the hell happens in a couple hours from now?
Honestly, dude, I'm terrified. as a Denver Nuggets fan, I'm terrified. And I think what worried me was it wasn't that we lost game 6, it's just the way that we lost it. Like getting blown out by I mean, they took the starters out at the start of the first. They're like, "All right, we're conceding this. We're going home for game 7." So I don't think the final score of that 45 points is indicative of anything, but it was a huge loss. And we couldn't get anything going on offense from anybody. I mean, Jokic was just okay, but I don't it's weird to explain. Like I don't know how you explain it and
0 bench points. First bench points was like the first minute out of the second half, or maybe the fourth quarter. I think it was the fourth quarter. I think it was the first 2 points from Christian Brown, a player off the bench, were in the fourth quarter. Can you imagine
that's
the
that's
first
terrible.
bench, like the first bench points in the entire game? Let alone they were getting blown
That's
out.
Yeah, that's terrible. Like you can't have your bench not contributing, but even their starters, MPJ couldn't buy a bucket. Jamal Murray, he's been so inefficient at times this season.
At times.
At times he's been so inefficient and it's just painful because it really does show how dependent we are on Jokic being great and Jamal being great. Because if you
Yeah.
get those two being great, then this team can function and beat anybody. But one of those guys, Jokic is. I'm not mad at Jokic at all. Jokic is doing his thing. It's Jamal
MVP of
Murray.
the league.
We need Jamal Murray to be great. We need MPJ to shoot not fantastic but be efficient, and we need the bench to step up. We have a good bench. I really do think we have a good bench, but
For sure.
the way they played in Game 6 was terrible. That's why I'm nervous. Like, yes, we're going back home to home for Game 7. We lost 2 games there already in the series. We did win Game 5, cool. But I don't think home court advantage isn't it's not making a difference. I don't think the Timberwolves are tired. They're energetic. They're playing. Mike Conley came back, and you could tell that helped add something to that team in Game 6. It's it's gonna be a battle, dude. I can't say I'm 100% confident the Nuggets are gonna win. I'm fingers crossed right now, but I don't know. It's gonna be crazy. Must watch.
I have a very crazy prediction. I think the Nuggets blow them out the water. I
Okay,
think they come
okay.
back out like they did in game 3 and they can never catch up. I think they find an answer for Cat. I think Jokic takes a step back and I think everybody plays on 10. And I think where OKC's learning lesson was we were here, but we weren't ready. I think the Timberwolves lesson where we're coming back for blood next year. It's just blood. I just kill everything inside, as Anthony Edwards says. I do think Anthony Edwards has closer to game 4, but I still think something happens in between this game where it's like, are we serious right now? Like we all like they have to look themselves in the mirror. The reason I say that is because they both teams have proven that like we're gonna shut you out, and that's an interesting thing because you don't usually see this in a series, especially this deeper into the playoffs, where it's like anybody could just literally get blown out. Like it's not 1 versus 8, and 8 barely made it in. It's not 1 versus 9, and it's a play-in team. We're talking about 2 versus 3, and they're blowing each other out. For some reason, I think that the Nuggets are clicking on all cylinders tonight, and they figure out how to minimize Cat. Gobert's been kind of on the back front. Of course, sixth man of the year. I think he's gonna have a game. I think Anthony Edwards is gonna have a game, but I think Karl Anthony Towns is the biggest factor in this game. I think that gonna make a huge adjustment for him this game. And if he has a good game, then okay, maybe I think the Timberwolves take it. If he doesn't have a game, I think the Nuggets will blow them out the water. I don't think there's no in between. I don't think a close game and Cat's playing well. If Cat's playing well, they're gonna win.
You don't see this being like the OKC and Mavericks Game 6, like a really close battle down to the end. You
I
don't see that.
don't, because what if they prove? Which team has proved to us that it's ever been a close battle? It's whoever came on that night. So if both teams are on tonight, we're gonna see one of the greatest games ever to be played.
I was about to say
Ever.
Game 1. I was about to say I feel like the closest matchup was probably Game 1. Where
Yeah, and that was a good game until they started pulling off and saying, "No, we're the young guns. We're about to take y'all out."
Yeah.
And then they lose 3 and 4. Like they didn't have all the opportunity in the world to sweep. At one point, we were talking about the Nuggets getting swept.
Right.
It's Game 7. It's like 2 weeks later. The series could have ended like a week and a half ago.
Right.
Like
right.
think about it. So I'm crazy excited for it. I think it's gonna be a good game. I think the Nuggets blow them out. I don't know why, but I do think they figure out an answer for Cat, and I just don't think that they have enough firing power outside of Cat. Because when Cat hits 3 out of 5 threes in the first half, it's like, oh, that's 12 points. Like that goes from 55 to, they're stuck in the 40s without Cat hitting those 3 threes. Or excuse me, 3 to 4 threes. Like they need that bad. And if they get that, they're gonna be an issue this game.
Yeah, I think we'll see. I think also a big factor is going to be foul trouble. I think foul trouble or getting into foul trouble has been indicative because like in Game 5, Naz Reid got into foul trouble early. He had 3 fouls in the beginning of the second quarter, so you had to sit him, and obviously that helps when you don't have that good defense coming off of Minnesota's bench.
See, I don't remember if it was Game 4, but I felt like somebody was just in foul trouble early, and Anthony was hitting on all cylinders, but he had no help on the other side of the court.
Mm.
So I forgot who it was. I think it was Cat. Cat with like a quick 2. We're either going to see the greatest game of all time, which I don't predict, or a blowout, which we all can predict. We have the right to predict that at this point.
Yeah,
but
honestly,
I would love to see 130 to 131 double overtime, high scoring game. MPJ busting threes. Mike Conley playing like he's 15 years younger. Gobert with the crazy slam. Jokic step back 3. maybe even dunks it a couple times because apparently he has hops now. Like, I want to see the greatest game of all time. I just don't think this is going to be the greatest game of all time.
I mean, I think even if it isn't, I think this series in itself has been, I think, the best series of the playoffs so far.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. The
honestly,
greatest blowout
it's
series I've ever seen in my life. I've never been
yeah.
so interested in watching teams blow each other out.
And even if it is the end for the Nuggets here, I mean, I don't think there's no shame in losing to a team like Minnesota, who has a potential future face of the NBA and just a really well constructed, tough team. Um, yeah, I mean, if like I said, if they don't pull it off, that's okay. We're still contenders next year. We're gonna come back, and be right back where we are now. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll both be tuned in. We'll be watching.
For sure. By the way, Timberwolves beat Celtics. Nuggets beat Celtics. But I don't know if Timberwolves or Nuggets beat Mavericks.
Oh, now you're crazy. I think whoever wins this series goes to the finals. That's my prediction. Whoever, regardless how tonight ends, whoever wins,
I
Denver
think that
or
the NBA
Minnesota,
Finals starts
finals.
with the Western Conference Championship. After that, I have no faith in the Cowboys. I
in,
don't. I just don't have
in the
faith in the
Boston
Celtics.
Cowboys.
That's it. Once again, y'all, we appreciate you guys for
Yeah.
listening. If you made it all the way through, I'm gonna let L Boogie take it away as usual. L Boogie.
Hey, everybody. Appreciate y'all once again tuning in to El Boogie and the Bell. As always, make sure you check us out on YouTube. Like our TikTok clips. Leave some comments, man. We've been getting some comments. I think somebody commented on my voice for one TikTok. But hey, keep comments, keep them coming. Let us know if you like the content, if you like our voices, our cameras, whatever. We love the engagement. We love to dialogue with y'all. And we love to keep bringing y'all this content. So make sure y'all keep tuning in. Once again, appreciate all y'all, and we'll be back here next week.
Peace.